have Roberto Cingolani, as I mentioned this morning, Roberto is the director of the Italian Technology Institute in Genova. Graduated in physics, I think 2 PhDs, lived in 18 countries or something like that, traveled the world. And I think it will be, he has been here already at our Unthinkable some years ago, and it has been a fantastic experience and very stimulating. I'm sure it is tonight as well. So Roberto, please join me on the stage. Thank you for being here again, and the floor is yours.
All right. So thank you for calling. It's the second time here. Very happy. Lately, we had increasingly relationships to economists and people in the business. We're trying to transfer quite a number of patents, inventions, and I found out that there is something that we should possibly clarify and address since the very beginning. I believe that there are two things missing at the moment at the level of university and education. The first one is quantum mechanics for medical doctors. You might laugh at that, but you will see in a minute. And the second thing, more technology, more foresight should be given to people working in economy. And I think it's absolutely welcome that young people with a technical profile enters the business, the MBA, like many of you are doing, because this is crucial for the transfer of technology. Today, technology develops really much faster than in the past. I think that if we want to make a business plan for the future, I mean, you're making social engineering right now. You're no longer making simple economy. We need to know which are the grand challenges, and we need to know which are the fields by now that are growing, knowing that in less than 1 year, these fields will be old and will develop very fast. So if you really want to be predictive and you want to be online for the rest of your life in your business, you have to know technology and science quite well since the very beginning. So let me tell you a few issues that we can't forget. 20% of the planet population uses 80% of the energy and of the water. And in those society, life expectation increases 3 months every year. So we will soon approach the 100 years life expectancy as a normal target. Of course, in the rest of the world, there is a very different situation. On the top, population is increasing, targeting 9 billion in 30 years. So not only you have a strong imbalancement, but you also have an off-equilibrium condition for which resources will not be enough. So whatever you are going to do in the future, you have to consider that energy is conserved. This is not trivial. We need to reduce the gap, of course, because this imbalancement is not sustainable over the long term. So essentially, reducing the gap means long life and good aging in advanced countries. In Italy, aging, so neurodegeneration, costs 2 points of gross national product, 2 points, 36 billion every year. And cancer, pretty much the same. And of course, you need to improve the life standard in other countries, otherwise you will have massive migration, and you will have massive problems. The planet is a closed system in thermodynamics and cannot sustain a corner at very high temperature and the rest at low temperature. This is, again, thermodynamics. So let's see which are the social and technology strategies for the time being, at the minute, right now. This will develop possibly in a few months. But for sure, there's food technology and agri-technology. I would say a leading technology is genome editing. You write, cut and paste small parts of the gene. Is not genetically modified food. Genome editing is something more sophisticated. You can control and change and tune properties of food. For instance, you can grow corn needing less water. You can correct specific properties of food. Packaging is becoming something extremely crucial. Smart packaging means that you can conserve your food for longer, having active sensing. It's a very important market. Manufacturing and automation, I'm sure that you've heard about multidimensional printing, 2D, 3D, now 4D printing. Artificial intelligence and big data. Prediction is an important tool. At the moment in Italy, we own billions of tickets from the pharmacies. So in principle, we should be able to know in every region of the country which are the most relevant diseases to compare with the most relevant expenditure in the public hospitals. But nobody does it because it's essentially an exabyte storage problem. And we don't have the strength to treat exabyte storage problems at the moment. Pharma chemistry, needless to say, rare diseases, oncology, this is extremely expensive, and there are now technologies to make pharma more affordable, either in terms of drug design, by computer-aided drug design, or in terms of delivery at single molecule level, so much less product per molecule. Portable diagnostic, that means precision medicine. You want to have genetic kits at home for 10 euro, not for pregnancy, but for genetic diseases. And this is something which is developed now. Waste cycle technology, something which is growing very fast at the moment. This is an immense business. I mean, only cars and electronics represent $1 billion business in terms of new technologies for waste cycling. Water cycle technology, smart cities and assistant to citizens, definitely robotic is entering in the house, in the office, in the hospitals, you'll see in a minute. And of course, there's another very interesting market, which is the sub-kilowatt power sources, the portable energy. It has nothing to do with nuclear power, renewable power. What we already know for big power stations is well known. I'm talking about things that are portable, batteries, but extremely high efficiency, and of course, other technologies that are competitive to batteries, you'll see. So how can you make a prediction if you don't know what's going on? I'm sorry, this is in Italian, but I can tell you, I can translate quickly. Do you know that right now we have something like 387 ppm per volume in concentration of carbon dioxide, and actually before the Industrial Revolution it was 280, and this is, do you know how this impacts on economy? Do you know that right now we're using water in the range of 2,600 cubic kilometers per year, and we can reach a maximum consumption of 4,000 cubic kilometers per year, whereas 100 years ago it was 400. I mean, this is something serious, because this is the same water we use for industrial production, for energy production, not only for drinking and washing. So in the United States and in Europe, we're using something like 200 to 360 liters per family of water. And this is, of course, the average, including industrial production. If you want to grow 2% in gross national product every year, this water is needed. But the water now is less and less. We are starting to pump water from the bottom of the natural reservoirs together with heavy ions, pollutants. So we need a technology for that. We need to know what to do. Okay, I will make a compilation of ideas. The first thing I want to show you is a precision medicine. This is really something we have to consider seriously. The estimate for 2030 is 30 million of deaths for cancer in the world. And a few years ago in Europe, it was 2.4 million deaths for cancer with a cost of 126 billion euro. Italy at the moment has 1,000 new cancer evidences every day and approximately 1.2 millions of neurodegenerative diseases. I mean, this costs something like 35, 36 billions every year to the public system. So the only way to tackle this war, I mean, this is a war, it's killing millions of people, is to combine a biological domain with data analysis and model domain and new technologies. I mean, in particular, genomics seems to be the way of choice in terms of intrinsic factors, so decoding the genomes of a large patients and sane people statistics, and of course nutrition, so the extrinsic factor, nutrition and environment, what you breathe, what you drink. To analyze all those data by using very advanced computational models and primarily big data. I mean, this is something that is now needed in terms of new mathematics, new algorithms like machine learning, artificial intelligence applied to predictive models. And of course, to transfer the outcome into analysis, decision, and society. And of course, you need to reinforce this by new technologies. So for food, packaging, for health, imaging, diagnostics, sensing systems. And of course, this gives you, as a result, some disease prevention, increased quality of life, longevity on one side, and on the other side increases sustainability and policy making. So there's so much science behind that you cannot make a plan for the future if you don't develop a new generation of scientists for that. A few numbers. DNA has 3 billion pairs, and typically this is something between 10 and 100 gigabytes in terms of memory. The patient data requires something like 15 to 20 gigabytes. This is a typical NMR. Okay, so myself, in this moment, if you want to have a picture of my health situation plus genetic situation, you need something like 120, 130 gigabytes. Multiplied by billions of people or millions of people in Italy, and it's easily an exascale problem. So we are not ready in terms of storage at the moment. No one is ready for that. We are not ready in terms of profiling and analysis, so this is a data science problem. We are not ready in terms of storage. We are not ready in terms of interaction of DNA and proteins, because DNA is something that moves in time and is three-dimensional, it's not two-dimensional. So the high-performance computing which is needed at the moment is still not available. Can you switch on the movie, please? Okay, this is what I mean. This is a realistic simulation. This is a very small portion of DNA. You see here, there is a mutation. This interruption in the bonding is a mutation. This is a cancer mutation. The way this works in nature is that the mutation interacts in the wrong way with the protein, and this is a real simulation in which you see how atoms are vibrating. Each figure here is a cluster of atoms. This requires a computer that takes 20 megawatt of power to run the calculation, and it's big, 1/2 of this room. So, but this is essentially the picture of a disease in a human. And this is going to be your ID, your identity card in terms of your health status when genomic will become available to everybody. By the way, this is the idea we want to develop in Milan with the Technopole, which is opposed by some of the academists, but it's also pursued by the most important countries in the world at the moment. On the same footing, you can use molecules that already exist in the market, the same molecules that we use for blood analysis when we go to the biologist, the medical doctor. We can improve their sensitivity by using tricks. I'm not telling you more because this is all quantum mechanics, it's very bad. The point is that if you use existing molecules and you, let's say, treat them with specific nanotechnologies, very cheap, you can have very easily colorimetric systems that can tell you whether one single molecule is modified at genetic level. This is called point-of-care technology. The fantastic thing is that at the cost of 10 cents, so really nothing, you can detect bacteria in milk, food sophistication, enzymes. You can detect cocaine from the tears in the eye. You can detect pollutants in the water. You can detect sophistication of food. Unbelievable market. At the moment, the predictions are between $95 and $100 billion in 5 years for the point-of-care technology. You bring the hospital where there is no hospital. You go there with a car, you have these little teeny pieces of plastic, they change color when you spit on it. Essentially, if there is a specific disease that you have to know, of course, what you're searching. And this is a fantastic technology for, also for social impact. A second issue is sustainability. I told you already about water. Yeah, I think the most important thing is here. We produce in the world 290 million tons of plastic, 290 million tons of plastic by petrol every year. The polymer produced by the petrol is a long chain of carbon, hydrogen, oxygen. It's something like this one. The only difference is that this is not from petrol. This is natural. This is cellulose, which essentially forms the entire vegetable system of the planet. So Mother Nature did a polymer, which is called cellulose. It's a sugar. Sugar is completely biodegradable, and it has exactly the same characteristics as the petrol polymer. To convince you of that, can you start here? Or here, same? Yeah. Yeah, for instance, to convince you here, this is actually a piece of plastic made with potato. So what we do, we go to the food companies. I can say the big food companies in Italy, chocolate, coffee, potato. We take the waste, approximately 30 million tons of waste from the food industry. We essentially extract the cellulose with the green process, and we create a plastic which has the unbelievable characteristic that you can see here. This is the breaking, the ultimate tensile strength. This is essentially the breaking load that you can apply, and this is the elasticity. And this is actually the PDMS, as you see here, is the plastic that is used for the kitchen gloves, very elastic. This is the plastic for the water bottle, very tough. And these are spinach, parsley, rice, cacao, and combinations, where you can see essentially you can reproduce any kind of plastic existing on the market by using vegetables. The market here is a billion market. Of course, logistics is a big problem. You have to collect all the waste from different food companies, bring in a place, process it. So I'm not saying we do this with the left hand, but for sure, in terms of sustainability, this technology is now available. Now, let me switch. We were talking about solid things. Let me go to mind and computation. This is my son, my third son. He's 7 years old. And this is my, let's say, fourth son. Actually, these are two parents. I'm one of the two. These are 400 parents. I'm one of the 400. As you see, this guy here has 10 to the 14th synapses in a three-dimensional structure, which is called brain, 75% water. Each neuron is interconnected to another 10,000. By 40 watts of power, 40 watts. We perform 10 to the 16 operations per second. ICAB, which is the most advanced humanoid in the planet at the moment, has 10 to the 9 transistor, 2D structure, silicon, essentially it's a laptop connected to a mainframe. 10 transistors interconnected to the nearest neighbors, and if you want to interconnect more transistors, resistivity increases, so you have larger thermal dissipation. He can perform only 10 to the 8 operations per second by using 200 watts. So look at this. It's 8 orders of magnitude in computation power for this essentially similar power dissipation. As a matter of fact, my son never stops with a piece of chocolate. This one, after 2 hours, is over. Yeah. Now, you might argue that it is possible to have machines today operating at 10 to the 16 operations per second. They are the supercomputers. Yeah, this is how they grew up. Now, the Americans and the Chinese are fighting at the very last kiloflops. But anyway, machines in the range of the exaflop capability, floating point operation per second, they're taking 35 megawatts, that's all. And you understand that I cannot have a robot like this having a power station of 35 megawatt behind. That would not be good for the market. So essentially, we have to accept the idea that the human brain is unreachable by any artificial method, and this is inherent because if you consider that carbon and water were essentially the direction chosen by evolution. If silicon would have been better, evolution would have developed us in silicon. So this is a very trivial argument, but it works very well. So what is the solution for the moment? The solution for the moment is that we are going to have something like 1 billion machines equipped with artificial intelligence in the next 15 years, from the vacuum cleaner to the humanoid, so different levels, or self-driving cars and so on. They're not going to be very smart, very intelligent. They're going to be connected by a very effective wireless system. We believe the threshold is going to be 300 megabytes per second. Slower would be unacceptable. And they will be connected to a global repository of the intelligence. It should be a cloud with 1 gigabyte per second, burst, very fast burst, 0.3 seconds. You don't want to wait. The concept is you talk to your robot and say, can you give me the bottle? Or can you cook some eggs? So the robot downloads the app from the cloud, and we don't want to wait more than a fraction of seconds. And he has all the information to do the task. Now, 5G players, as you see here, are planning to tackle Internet of Things. And it's 1.4 billion euro only for the 5G by the 2020. This is little money, but it's just an R&D investment from European Union. Imagine what companies are doing. Now, if you have this power in terms of computation, can you run this movie here? Then you can do things that were impossible just a few years ago. What you see here is a protein in real time Blue is negative charge, red is positive charge. If you were an electron, you would see this cloud of charge. Now, these are the atoms in the protein. These are real atoms moving in real time in the real position. This tells you how nature works close to absolute zero. Now, in order to do this calculation, which is only a small portion of a protein, you need a computer with 35 megawatt of power. But this is the ultimate in terms of predictive medicine. Can you switch on the other movie here? Thank you. Because if you can do this, the other one here. Thank you. This one. Yeah. Thanks. Now, if you can do this very precise calculations, now you can simulate a drug. This is a chemotherapeutic drug, which is essentially finding its pathway to penetrate the membrane, reach this site, and when the drug will reach the site, the drug will be working. So what I'm showing you in real time is the state of the art in terms of computation. Today, we build cars and we build airplanes by simulation. But now we are starting to build drugs by simulation, which means a fantastic shortcut towards faster production, cheaper production. And of course, you save a lot of time because you don't need to do trials and error chemistry. You just simulate things. You will see that after approximately a few seconds, the drug penetrates, finds the right pathway, and reaches the core of the protein. This means that the drug works. This is the selection of millions, well, maybe millions too many, 100,000 different possibilities, and of course this becomes the right drug to be developed in the chemistry then. Again, can you start the movie here? Again, if you have this powerful intelligence, you can do something like this. The humanoid is social here. This is ready to be in the house. Compared to 2 years ago, it's much faster, much better than what some of you saw already 2 years ago. You see, now the humanoid has a gaze stabilization, can be absolutely outstanding in terms of dynamical equilibrium, very interactive with humans. You will see now, imagine this is in your house, talking to your kids or to your grandfather, grandmother. It has to be compliant, that means elastic. We have a word, cedevole in Italiano. We don't have similar, we just say compliant in English. It means somehow that does not break you when it eats you or your crystals in the house. Okay, and similarly.
Yes, hello. Hi, hello, nice to see you.
It's my turn. Hello, Uncle. Uncle. Here. Hello. Yeah.
Okay, what I'm showing you here
It's nice that he actually is sort of like a little child.
I think it's one of the most relevant experiments in the last 13, 14 months in humanoid robotics. The machine is not remote controlled. It's actually interacting with humans. So it has a saliency map. It checks continuously convergence and divergence by using a neuromorphic vision. It has a representation of reality in 3D, and it really behaves, talks, learns, interacts, listens to humans. It is slow, of course. You would say it's a little bit dummy. But actually, he does everything to the best of its possibility. Now, with this in mind, this is the next generation. This is ready now. We are going to disclose this machine in a couple of weeks' time. This is supposed to be below 12,000 euro, so it's like a scooter. It's fully plastic. And a machine like this now is, of course, becoming of interest for big companies developing AI. You know, I don't say the names, but I'm sure that you imagine there are 2, 3 that are world leading. And of course, the killer applications are nurse, assistants in the office, shopping. This kind of platform essentially uses an AI, which is in cloud, with application packages which are developed by big names. And of course, this is going to be your mobile phone of the future, your laptop of the future. It will integrate everything. Interconnection, ICT, computation capability, projection. The face is touch with some expression. Okay, I cannot say many details because it will be launched very, very soon. Now, the point is you want this machine to operate continuously in the house or in the working place. You want them to be pretty much like we are, 1,000 watt, typically like a human. They have you have to guarantee a reliability like an aircraft. 4,000 hours in a row without interruption and technical checks, so much more than a car. And primarily you want them to be self-powered. Self-powered is a big problem now. You know, we are getting mad with cars because 1 liter of gasoline produces 2,000 watt per hour per kilo. A battery, to the best of our knowledge, is 150 watt hour kilo. So there is a factor 15. Gasoline is much better than batteries, no way. Now, this limits essentially, with the lithium-ion technology, the range to some 160 kilometers. And of course, with gasoline, we could go much faster, much longer, sorry. And of course, we are now thinking to new combinations of cathode, anode, and the electrolytes to reach an energy capacity comparable to gasoline. Of course, this is another immense field, not only for robots, but also for transportation. Let me show you, because you will be in this field, I'm sure. You will have to face this kind of technology. You should possibly consider where is going the technology in this field. Right now, the state of the art is replacing the anode of the battery with two-dimensional materials, graphene, Nobel materials 4 years ago. And it's replacing the cathode with, again, graphene, but intercalated with some ions. Now, if you see this plot, this is very interesting. The cathode, 99% of the situations embodies lithium. And in general, the capacity is between 200 and 400 milliamps per hour per gram. So this is there. There's little to improve. But the anode, today the technology is graphite. It could be much, much better if it could be, for instance, silicon and lithium, because you could increase by a factor 20 the capacity. So the battery would be comparable to gasoline. The problem is that silicon is a big atom, 2.4 angstrom. Lithium or carbon are much smaller. So when you put them together, they don't match very well, and the material breaks. So the battery is not reliable. After 4 or 5 cycles of charging and recharging, the battery destroys. So what the technology is trying to do is trying to make a bridge between this material and this material, the best and the worst, trying to be a little bit in the middle, but getting at least a factor 20 or a factor 10 in the capacity. And this, surprisingly, turns out to be a plastic material. I cannot give many details, but I want to show you, you see this battery, this is like a contact lens. Very soft, very tender, and essentially has a graphene film, graphene anode, some tricky element in the middle, cathode separator. And with a battery like this, we can increase by approximate factor of 7, so this is a board record at the moment, a factor of 7, the efficiency of the battery. On top, the battery is conformable, so it can be bent. You can put this everywhere. In a pipe, you can use to cover the scaffold of the machine. Of course, high power means high reliability. That's another story. This is a prototype. But you know, for sure, there's a lateral thinking. We have to think completely new architecture if you really want to use batteries for the future. Another alternative is to use, look at this guy. This is blowing on this plastic. It's blowing 0.1 meter per second, and it's getting something like 10 watt per square meter, or 0.26 milliwatt per cubic centimeter. The peak-to-peak energy here is 0.7 volts. It's like a battery for your watches. So what is this? This is plastic. It's called piezoelectric, soft piezoelectric plastic. Imagine now you fabricate your shoes by using this plastic. You would recover 60 watt of power simply by transforming mechanical energy that is parasitic, is lost when you walk against gravity. Multiplied by several billions people on the planet, and this is going to be several nuclear power stations simply by recovering your inertia during your move. I mean, obviously for portable energy applications like robotics, that's definitely a very good system, but it could be good for cars, for boats, for sport. I mean, having a jacket covered by these little things here that were vibrating while you go with a motorbike or while you go with a bicycle would power your GPS, your telephone, your mobile, your GPS, your board electronics, and so on and so forth. Quickly running towards the end, manufacturing. I'm sure you were discussing this today. It could be 2D or 3D. Can you start this one? Okay, what I want to show you here is that today you can do things that were impossible just a few days ago. This is an industrial inkjet printer. What we are printing here is graphene. This is material, conductive materials. Essentially, you can write any circuit, ultra thin, a few atomic layers, To give you an idea, I mean, this is the starting element. This is an industrial roll-to-roll machine, the same you were printing newspapers 10 years ago. It works, it operates only with polymers and conductive materials. And you see, these are circuits that are printed in parallel, up to 150,000 square meters of circuits per month. The cost is irrelevant, it's just printing. And 3D printing, on the other hand, I know that today you saw something fantastic. I want to show you something which is, to my opinion, is really exciting. I mean, what you see here, it's somehow an alien component, a bit biomorphic. This is, at the moment, one of the most advanced actuators in the world. It's a titanium sintered 3D additive manufacturing. It embodies ultra-high pressure circuitry for actuation and all the electronics. Can you start again this movie? I'm sorry. And this is now what we're developing with Moog. Moog is the #1 in the world for actuation in aircraft and aerospace. These are now the muscles of our disaster recovery robots. This is a goat, a quadruped, which is powered by this kind of muscles, let's say, this manufactured 3D manufactured muscles. And I think it's very impressive to see. It lasts too long, but. Well, while I was talking, you saw the goat being smashed by a big, heavy punching ball or moving on strange ground. Well, anyway, to make it short, this is now being developed together with Protezione Civile and firemen because it has, of course, applications to disaster recovery. I conclude showing you another 3D printing, and I will conclude with this. This is, can you start, please? This is a fully plastic hand. You can switch off the volume. It's a fully plastic hand. Single motor, 9 watt of power. It is totally biomorphic, and it reproduces 85% of the movement of the human hand. We're trying this on about 100 patients. This is the intelligence of the hand, which is educated by using my electric contact. These contacts are registering the surface potentials. You educate the prosthetic system to recognize, according to contraction, the movement. This is now the passive prosthetic system, which is fabricated by the hospital. We work in the amputee center in Budrio together with Inail. So the passive prosthetic system is transformed into an active prosthetic system by using this contacts that I've shown you before. These are located at specific position. This is one of the power users. The hand is the one you have seen before. This gentleman has been amputated 35 years ago. This is all the electronics of the hand. This can be removed in a single movement. The cost of the prosthetic system is 7,000 euro. Nothing compared in the market. And it's really being tested now for the final approval. And this will be, of course, available with the public health system, not only in Italy, but everywhere. And I think the most important thing is that not only that the guy recovers capabilities that were lost 35 years ago, like preparing breakfast, drinking, and so on, but you will see in a minute the fact that he has recovered the possibility to work. He was an handcraft, working with wood. And yeah, here we go. So you see, it's an extremely robust system. And of course, this has been possible because of the combination of medical doctors, engineers, electronic people, people studying biomechanics. So once again, technology is lateral now. There is nothing is going on the traditional pathway. Things are quite intermixed. And I'm sure that only with the contribution of the economists, most of these inventions and this possibility will be transferred to the market and will become fruitful for everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Roberto. Must say, very, very inspiring.
It was a bit long.
No, stai qua. We have time. Questions? I don't see hands. There is somebody there, yeah, already.
Marco Baeli, Embas 10, Embas 10. The question is, on the beginning of your presentation, you talked about the necessity to, in some way, close the gap between the rich part of the world and the poorest one. But then you showed us all stuff that are related to something that will be applied probably to rich countries in the short term, I guess. So the question is still open. How can we close this gap?
Yeah, okay, maybe I didn't mention a key aspect of those technologies. These are all twofold technologies. The point-of-care technology is supposed to go for 10 cents per chip into the poor countries. For instance, screening of Ebola, screening of HIV. The prosthetic systems, they are the only one affordable for countries where there is a war. You know, there are something like 3 million amputees at the moment in some part of the world, and the technology we developed, it costs about 1/5 to 1/10 of the available prosthetic system. So for sure, it's the most social you find in the world. The vegetable plastic, it has a great impact, not really on the plastic itself, but on the fact that in the most agricultural economies at the moment, the waste is a big problem. I'll give you an example. You go to Costa Rica, it's one of the, I think it's the most important producer of cacao in the world. You know what they do, these people? They go with a machete, they cut the big seed, they throw away the hard part, and they take just the inner part. Every couple of years, every 2 years, the field gets destroyed because the seed is acid. So they have to change, and after 5 years, they go back there. Now, imagine you take all this waste, and you produce locally the cacao plastic just for the packaging of the cacao that they produce and that they distribute. So if I can do these examples for all the technologies I've shown you before, but for the precision medicine, this is really a little bit too advanced. But honestly, all the technologies that we are trying to develop at the moment, but not only, I mean, it's not, when I say we, I say the scientific community. I don't say IIT or myself. The scientific community is seriously considering now the fact that every technology should have a sort of a twofold impact. One is to increase the GPL, the gross national product of the place where this is produced, and the other one to reduce the gap. Believe me, all what I've shown has a twofold application.
I was wondering, by the way, because this is the outcome of an institute, maybe a couple of words on, I mean, Istituto Italiano di Tecnologia is...
Oh, well...
Just few words, because I'm not sure
we are...
I mean, how international, how big?
We are an institute with the governance of a private foundation like Max Planck Gesellschaft. You know, we are pretty much the same as Max Planck and Fraunhofer. We are 1,500 people. Mm-hmm. The good thing is that the average age is 34, 33 and a half, so I'm by far the oldest. And we have 1/2 of the staff from 57 countries.
57?
Yeah, so it's the most international institution in this country, and possibly in Europe, one of the most international, and 41% women. There is a very special policy for women, stop the clock for maternity. There are specific aids for the career of women in science. At the moment, the most important, the most relevant thing is that we exist since 10 years, so it's a fairly young institute. And then the very beginning, the 3-4 years at the very beginning, we were building this huge lab in Genova. It's the largest single-site laboratory in Europe at the moment. We have a patent library at the moment with 360 patents, 14 startups in the last year and a half. So it's really starting to transfer technology to the market. But of course, the basic soul is very academic. So we want to make frontier research, and out of that, technology comes out.
Yeah. Other curiosities from the floor, or other questions? All right, come on. Then I have another one.
I was exhausted.
No. I must say, it was not always very simple, probably, to follow you, but very fascinating to see the outcome of some of those. Tell us a bit, maybe more generally, Italian researchers.
Oh, I mean, bad question.
Hey, yes, come on, I mean. Huh?
Why should I talk about Italy? Can we talk
Italian
about
worldwide. I mean, there are a lot of Italians that are abroad. Is this a way to have them coming back? I mean,
I don't think it's important to drain back the Italians. I mean, the science has no passport. I think the only important thing is economical. We spent almost €1 million to form our young people, and we lose most of them because we have ridiculous old rules in the recruitment. That's all. Now, if we can drain back some of these young people, it's fantastic, but this cannot be the target. The target is to attract the best brains in our country, no matter where they are from. This is what the others are doing. We should do the same. Now, the fact that we are losing our best brains, this is a big problem. But I think it has nothing to do with science and technology. This is bureaucracy. This is our university system. You know, long story. I want to make an example, very, very simple one. You want to hire a professor in the university at the moment? What do? You open a call with a Gazzetta Ufficiale. How do you read the Gazzetta Ufficiale? In Italian. How the hell you want a foreigner to apply with an Italian call? Unless he has or she has a girlfriend or a boyfriend who is Italian. So this is a very simple problem, okay? If we really were willing to solve it, we could fix it immediately, but we don't want, clearly. I'm a bit polemic with this.
Was there a question?
I have a rather practical question. This green plastic technology, is this licensed? It's available to industry?
Yes, most of what I've seen today has been disclosed already, apart from the plastic robot, and has been licensed to a number of companies. We never give exclusive license, never.
Okay.
We give multiple licenses, and we give normally the license to companies for the core business. So for instance, food packaging, coffee waste to coffee producers for their packaging, spinach waste
And a way to acquire this license is talking to you?
Sure.
All right.
Technology Transfer Office, direct contact.
Can I pick up your credit card?
Yes.
Thank you.
I have to say that we are a no-profit organization, obviously, because we are a state organization. Okay, very good.
Giorno.
Roberto, this morning we spoke about the implication for the business school related to the enlargement of knowledge. What kind of, what kind of adding you see in the curricula, for instance, of a typical master MBA or executive MBA, in order to take into account this kind of development in technologies?
Look, based on our experience with the young researchers we have from especially Anglo-Saxon countries, and especially in the Technology Transfer Office, we have a quite strong technology transfer unit in the Institute. It seems to me that all our experts, though they are economists essentially in background, so they make business plan, business analysis, they have a very solid scientific and technical ground, which is being created at the very beginning. Too late is really too late. If you do this after the PhD, after the master, it's too late. I think most of our young guys, they have studied nanotechnology, they have studied principle of biology, principle of molecular biology, basic technology, medicine. You know, today, we were discussing this before. I think that if you get a young guy and you give him or her kind of overview in future medicine, diagnostic and medicine, food technology, digital humanities, ICT and artificial intelligence. Okay, these four things, for sure, will be sort of horses to ride for the next few years. Of course, there is energy, there is many other things, but these things are old in terms of technology. I mean, my surprise is that when I talk to people in let's say, in the business planning economy, especially domestic, they think that high tech is renewable energy. It's really, it's like being 20 years ago. So honestly, taking very young minds, shaping them a little bit, making them crazily curious about future development will be, to my opinion, a win-win situation. I believe that the Singularity University, which has been created in the United States, is not at all a research center. I mean, compared to what we do, they don't do as good as we do. But it's fantastic to transfer foresight and vision to those who will be interfacing the market, to those who will be selling products. You know, a seller or an economist that knows the technology is a fantastic animal in terms of science and technology and market perspective, okay? Like a doctor who knows computing, imaging, and quantum mechanics, medical doctor. Mm-hmm. Like a scientist that knows a little bit about business, obviously. Yeah. So you need to have, as much as possible, 360 degrees characters in the future.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Any other question? You mentioned startups. Are you also incubating some, or?
No, we don't incubate. We give our scientists the possibility to stay in the institute for 2-3 years, but they have to find their own investors. So the rule is very simple. If the market believes the startup, we help the scientists. If the market doesn't believe,
they have to go out and fund the money.
Yeah, they're quite successful. Now, last week we closed a 10 million euro deal. We incorporated a couple of companies, one in Switzerland, the other one in the United States, 60 million raising.
On what?
One was pharma, the other one was diagnostic, another one is robotics. Now we have something very big that we are negotiating, possibly the biggest in the history of the institute. There are others in materials that got some 2-3 millions. It's okay.
And the funds go to the institute?
No. The institute only supports the scientists. The institute is a no-profit. We reinvest everything in science and laboratories. It is the scientist that decides to go into the market.
Okay.
And if the market believes in the invention or in the startup, we support the scientist. If the market doesn't believe, the scientist comes back to the lab. He has another chance.
Okay.
It's very simple.
Interesting. Any other curiosity? Okay. Roberto,
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Very appreciated. And so we are done for the afternoon. And thank you for staying so long, but I think it has been a very, very interesting day. No, you need this also. I need to give you this. I was just forgetting. This is the old Bocconi building, Largo Trese. Really appreciate it. And so we reconvene and drinks start at 7:30 at Palazzo Mezzanotte for our gala dinner tonight. Thanks a lot for being here today, all day, and see you very soon at Palazzo Mezzanotte. See you later. Thank you.